Good morning, friends. What a reading this week. I had the great privilege of reading this over and over and over again over the course of the week and tuning into it in different ways. And then the privilege of standing up here today. I highly encourage you, this is a book that you can pick up in the bookshop called Rays of the One Light, or the same One Light. And I highly encourage you to read the readings before you come on Sunday, because when you get to sit in that thread of attunement with every chant that is chosen, every song that is sung, the affirmations that we read, when you get to sit with that and come in knowing and feeling the way that by the time we get to this point, words aren't even needed anymore. The expression of what the reading itself and the teaching each week is asking us to contemplate. It's felt and it's experienced. You know, I was joking with my friends back in the minister's room. The question that's posed, Swami Kriyananda often begins or titles these readings with a question, is, did God create the universe or become it? And I was joking in the back, the answer is yes. It's both and, it's everything, it's all in one. And then as I was listening to the chanters, Tandava and Suryani and Keshava, chanting that chant, what is this life flowing through my veins? And then the question, can it be other than divine? What is this consciousness flowing through my brain? What is this energy flowing through my form? Finally, what is this power flowing through my will? And that essential question that comes again and again, can it be other than divine? As I was listening to that, thinking we could just play that chant for the next hour and we would feel it and know the answer. Did God become the universe or create it? Yes, because it's there. It's in all of that. It's in the energy that flows through each aspect of that chant, in our consciousness, in our power, in our will. Everything that is animated through the divine. The question then becomes, are we willing to receive it? Are we open to experiencing it? And I love this line from the Gita, O Arjuna, think of me as the eternal seed in all creation. And you can feel that aspect or that theme of seeds being threaded. I forget exactly what the line is in the affirmation this week, but in the prayer it also opens up to that consider love to be the seed. It's okay, it doesn't have to be exactly that, but something along those lines. Consider love to be the seed that's sown, or allow me to sow the seeds of love. That's what it said, in all hearts. And that got me thinking about an experience. One of the things that, though I contribute everything I've been given on the spiritual path to the guidance and the attunement and the grace of my guru, one of the things in my life on the material plane that helped to introduce me to the idea of an inner life and meditation and an inner religion is a class that I took my senior year of college. It was called Compassion, and this was in 2009. So it was before universities were really starting to. Now we see this much more, classes on happiness and joy and compassion. This was one of the first classes that I'd seen at a university level on this aspect. And I took it with my roommate, who was also my teammate. She considered herself to be, a self-proclaimed hippie, and so she saw this class and said, we have to take this. And I remember thinking, I don't want to take that class. But little did I learn, and did I know, she didn't love it so much, it opened my life. And that's when I learned a hippie and a yogi. Though there's some overlapping, there's also something very different in that. And throughout the course of this class, we read different exemplars, Mother Teresa, Viktor Frankl, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, spiritual and social leaders who were using compassion to drive their platforms and to drive change in the world. And then my professor would pair a contemplative practice. So we read the life of Mother Teresa and wrote about it academically and studied her academically. And then the second week would be a Seeing Christ meditation. And she would challenge us first to just go to a park and sit on a park bench and see if you can feel Christ, if you can see Christ in everyone, just the way that Mother Teresa lived her life. And then imagining someone who's harmed you, someone who you have conflict with, can you feel Christ in them? And then ultimately, within ourselves, expanding that out to the whole world. It ended up being a lovely semester, like I said, that just opened my life to this whole concept of an inner religion and got me starting on my journey of exploring and studying, which led me to being able to hear the call of my guru. I'm telling you all of this because on the very last day of the class, we did, instead of a final exam, we had a community circle. And we walked into the room, and she'd set this space where we'd had all of our classes. It was the meditation room at our university. And she had set it and made it very beautiful. And then all of our meditation pillows, which is how we sat in the class, were in a circle. And in the center of the circle were beautiful objects, images of these great exemplars and, beautiful feathers, all just different, there's probably 20 or so objects. And we sat down, and our job for the final exam was to look around, and one by one we picked an object that spoke to us about how we'd felt and what we'd learned from the class and how we wanted to express all that we'd gained. And everyone just kind of used that as a symbol to launch into their experience. And in the midst of all of these incredible, beautiful things, there was this little tiny acorn. And nobody picked it up. And I was my turn came about halfway through the class. And I kept my eye on the acorn the whole time. And of course, people were picking up really beautiful crystals and amazing things that were speaking to them. And I walked over and I picked up this little tiny acorn, and I brought it back and sat down. And I'd said that this acorn encompasses everything I've experienced from this class, because within this acorn, within this tiny seed, is the blueprint for everything that can be expressed, for all of the potential of what it means to be a little tiny acorn to become a pine tree. Is that what acorn? Oak tree. I should have done my research. An oak tree. So this little tiny acorn, all of which could become this beautiful oak tree, and it's just this little tiny thing that you can hold in your hand, but it is potent, and it is vital, and it has all of that potential existing within it. And that's such a beautiful, and for me, because in that class, just to close out the personal aspect of this story, because that's what I felt had happened to me. I'd been introduced into something that I knew would become the rest of my life, though at that time at 22, I didn't quite know how yet. Didn't know it would mean standing here today with all of you. But I felt that potency, that blueprint that had the capacity to express itself in any myriad of ways, depending on how we nurtured it, how we gave our energy and our love into it. And of course, the reason I'm sharing this to come back to that passage from the Gita that stood out to me, O Arjuna, think of me as the eternal seed in all creation. The essence of this question, this reality, how does God express to us through this universe in everything? But as that seed, that vitality, that potency for God realization, for God attunement, is pregnant in every moment of our lives, in everything that we do. The capacity to feel and experience God, it's right there, no matter what the circumstance is. When we were starting today with our fire ceremony, Aryavan was very beautifully sharing about the fires that are happening, because we were doing a fire ceremony, and he was comparing so beautifully, for those of you who weren't here yet, that fire has that potential to transform and also has the potential for destruction, which of course we're seeing very literally with everything that's happening in Southern California. But then he said so beautifully what we would know as yogi, what is day to the yogi is night to the common man. Sometimes destruction and transformation are the same side of the coin. And it doesn't look pleasant to us from the outside, but that potency, that vibrancy, that ability to feel the animating power of God behind everything that we do, it's there. Those seeds of divine consciousness are planted in everything that we do, everything that we experience. It's just a matter of whether or not we're able to reach up and to grasp it and to hold it and to nurture it within ourselves. And the only thing that keeps us, I was thinking about this last night, the ego is so very good at its job. Because the ego, first of all, we know, of course, on the outside, what the ego does is it says, I'm important, my needs are important, take care of me, this is what I want, this is how I feel. And so we say, okay, and we do everything that we can to help to make ourselves comfortable, and the ego just keeps knocking, and the more that you feed it, the louder it gets in a lot of circumstances. But I was thinking about it, and at least this is how it expresses in my life, and in others I've spoken to, I feel there's a similar resonance here. Sometimes we finally say, okay, ego, enough, let's get quiet, And we stand in front of God, but then the ego is very good at that. No, God doesn't love me. And we get smaller. We don't feel worthy of reaching out and grasping and claiming our very birthright. So that seed is sitting dormant, and the divine masters are pouring their energy down into us, saying, wake up, call upon me, feel me, give your life to me. And it's just a matter of our ego being able to bridge that gap, that chasm, being able to say, yes, I'll stand up. Because the love of Divine Mother is so present in our lives and everything we do. We had a beautiful work day here yesterday, and we got a lot done. So I encourage you when you're in the yoga studio to peek behind the curtains at the windows. Out the windows, Mahavir and Kamala Devi are leading a team. You'll see very soon we're going to transform those front gardens into a beautiful garden of all religions, and there'll be quotes and sayings from great teachers all over the world. And we just got a first little step into that. And I had the wonderful job. I got to use the pickaxe all day, and I was swinging the pickaxe and breaking up roots and doing all of the things that those of you who know me would know I loved. Michelle and I think I saw Michelle, she's here somewhere. We were carrying rocks and digging, and we were just having so much fun and, just allowing our bodies to express all of this energy. But as a result of that, by about 8:30 last night, I was out. I fell asleep. I went into my room and I was just reading Autobiography of a Yogi. And luckily I'd set my alarm because I knew that this might happen. And I don't even remember looking at the clock past 8:27. And I was just out. But as a result of that, I woke up at about 1:30 in the morning. Autobiography of a Yogi still right next to me on the bed. And I just picked it up and started reading it again. I'm telling you this story also for a reason. And I just opened the book, and for those of us that have read this book year after year after year for many years or decades, we have those passages. When you open the book, it opens to those well-worn passages. And mine opened right to, in fact, this is such a well-worn passage that the pages don't even stay in the book anymore. So I brought them out because I might want to read one line from you, but of course it's materializing a golden palace. And the context of this story, I'm not going to give all the background if you don't know this story. I encourage you to run over to the bookshop after Sunday service and grab a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi because it will delight you and transform you. But the essence of this is that Lahiri Mahashaya is called to the foothills of the Himalayan mountains, where he meets his guru, though at first he's not awakened. He doesn't know that it's his guru. And of course, what most of us think about with this story is the beautiful palace that has been materialized. But the lines that come just before this are so deep and so beautiful. Babaji comes and he asks Lahiri Mahashaya, do you remember this cave? Lahiri Mahashaya is saying, no, I don't remember. Then he awakens him, and Lahiri Mahashaya remembers his past incarnation where he lived with Babaji. And just because, why would I speak for Babaji ever? No one should presume to do such a thing. Let me read you exactly what he says. Let me see where I want to start. So he's saying he's watched over Lahiri Mahashaya, the part that I wanted to read. I have watched over you, waiting for this perfect day. Now you are with me. Lo, here is your cave, loved of yore. I have kept it ever clean and ready for you. Here is your hollowed asana blanket, where you daily sat to fill your expanding heart with God. Behold there your bowl, from which you often drank the nectar prepared by me. See how I have kept the brass cup brightly polished, that you might drink again therefrom. You know, when we hear this story, we often focus on the gratitude that can flow through Lahiri Mahashaya when Babaji manifests this amazing palace to allow that karma to just be absorbed so that he can be the awakened soul that he's come to be. But the line that touches me so deeply here is the line about the brass bowl. Here is your asana blanket. Here's your cave. I've kept it clean for you for decades. He's watched over Lahiri Mahashaya, who took a new incarnation as a little baby before he was awakened, and he polishes, imagine that, Babaji Krishna, the Maha-avatar of this planet, overseeing all of the enlightenment of the souls and beings on this entire planet. And he's keeping the cup, the brass cup, polished for you, that you might drink from it again. That kind of love can't be known. In fact, Lahiri Mahashaya's response is, who could know such deathless love? That love is the seed of divine inspiration that is impregnated into every moment, every aspect, every reality in our lives. It's right there for us to reach out and to grasp it if we have the courage and the strength to say, yes, I choose Divine Mother's love. I choose to feel it. I choose to see it. And it takes great strength and it takes great courage, because the world can look chaotic from the outside. We see that every single day. And the more that we expand our inner awareness, the more that we keep light, that space for Divine Mother, for God to come in and to calm our hearts, the more that no matter how tumultuous it looks outside, we are protected. We are protected in our love for God, because it's right there waiting to be cultivated. Just like that little tiny seed, that inside all of that seed is the fullest expression of its oak tree. All of that expression of who you are, your divine potential, is waiting. And Babaji, just like he's holding out that cup, here I have polished it. I've kept it for you so that you may come and drink again from the divine nectar. No matter what it is that's expressing in our lives, whether it's our homes being destroyed, whether it's a partner that we love falling sick, whether it's our own karma and kind of inner tumults, our own emotions that are running rampant within us, worry, fear, anxiety, whatever it is, it's Divine Mother polishing the brass, holding it in front of us, saying, can you reach up? Can you grasp that divine potential? Because can you feel me animating all creation just behind the very circumstance, just behind the very thought? And as I was saying, all it takes is the courage for us to step up and say, yes, I'll look head on. Ego aside, I'll look right in front and I'll see you. I am worthy of that love. I choose that love. I will claim that birthright within ourselves, or within myself. And I'll just share one final story before we close today. And this is something that just happened a few days ago, actually, exactly 1 week ago, within my own life. And I was misbehaving, as we tend to do. And I had a loving friend who was willing to point out that I was misbehaving, which is, at first it can feel a little hard, but ultimately, for those of us that are here to surrender the ego and to transform, when our friends can point out to us the ways that we are misbehaving or the ways that we're maybe getting it a little bit wrong, it's actually a great blessing to us. So my friend did this with great tenderness and care, and we had a conversation about it. And the next day I was just sitting with it and contemplating it, and I wanted to find a way to transform. I wanted to find a way to take, because it's one of those things that the issue within me feels so emotional that you sort of feel like you can't get it. It happens, and then as soon as it happens, you want to pull it back. And so I was kind of struggling with that idea of saying, sure, I see who I want to be, and yet it happens before I can catch it. And then it's out there. Then, you have to try and apologize and pull it back in and rein that energy back in. And so I was sitting after talking with my friend and reading Sister Gyanamata's book, which if you ever need a little bit of discipline, she's a good one to go to, because she takes you right to the center of your spine. There's no room for, well, maybe, but if, could we just, she just brings you right there. And there was a line, she was writing one of her letters that she was writing to Yogananda, to her guru. And at the end of it, she was talking about, anyway, the circumstances don't matter. What matters is the end of it. And she says this line, she says, in your presence, I am silent, as in a temple. The reverence, gratitude, devotion, and love I feel for you flows from deep down in the vibrationless region of my heart. It's such a beautiful line. And I wrote to my friend the next day after I had a chance to digest all of this and think about how to change and how to catch that moment. And I said to her, I appreciate and thank you for everything that you shared. And my vow is that I will keep those lines. I'd read those lines. I said, I'm going to keep those lines with me. And any time this reactivity comes up, I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to read it again and again and again until I can remember that that reactivity is not me. That in fact, in every moment, because that potency of divine realization is expressing itself in every single moment, that I am in the presence of my guru. I am silent as in an altar or as in a temple. That if we can live in reverence, gratitude, devotion, and love, my goodness, there would be no room for angst in the heart. To walk through that, to look at an altar. And the goal for us, with that seed, that vitality, that presence of divine understanding, which is calling out to you, reaching its hand down and saying, wake up, come with me. The beautiful thing is that what we're learning to transform, what we're learning to see, is that that altar, that presence of the guru, it's in everything, no matter what we are looking at. It takes great courage to look at destruction, pain, and sadness as an altar from the divine, a gift from the guru to transform. And yet that gift is given to us so that we can, with all of our willingness, our power. Let me see if I can pull them all up. What is this life? What is this energy? What is this power? What is this consciousness? All of it, divine. Everything that we need to live our own lives is animated through the divine. Everything that you are is from the divine. It is a gift given to you to stand up and say, I will transform. I will change. I will see only you in every moment. That seed is there, that little tiny acorn. It's waiting for you. The fullest expression of who you are, your divine birthright, is waiting to be cultivated, to be harvested, and to be owned, so that you too can become a channel of that divine light. God bless you.
Let's take a moment of silence together.